poor black girl helped an old man cross the street, unaware he was the town's richest farmer. On the edge of a small southern town, a barefoot girl trudged along the dirt road, her patched dress fluttering in the warm breeze. She carried the weight of hunger in her belly and prejudice in her heart, yet her eyes still held a quiet softness that refused to be broken. Strangers sneered as she passed, judging her by her skin and her poverty, as though both were crimes. But fate was waiting for her at the corner of Main Street, because on one ordinary afternoon, she reached out to steady an old man struggling across the road. That single gesture would unravel secrets no one in town could have imagined. Before we continue this story, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and like this video, so we can bring you even more amazing stories like this one. Her name was Sarah, the youngest of 3 siblings. Though most in town barely remembered she existed, her mother worked long hours as a laundress, scrubbing away the stains of the wealthy, while Sarah tried to help however she could. Their home was a creaky wooden shack at the edge of the fields, where the roof leaked each time it rained and the walls rattled when the wind grew fierce. Life in town was not kind to them. Every morning when Sarah walked to school, she felt the stares. Children of farmers and shopkeepers laughed at her tattered shoes. Teachers treated her as if she were invisible, never asking her to speak, never expecting her to succeed. And yet Sarah clung to a quiet dignity. She dreamed of a life where she and her family would no longer be pushed aside. In that town, class and race were lines drawn deep into the soil, dividing neighbor from neighbor. The wealthy lived in fine houses near the courthouse square. The poor, especially those with skin like Sarah's, lived on the outskirts, where the roads turned to mud and opportunities rarely came. And yet, despite the cruelty, Sarah never turned bitter. When she found scraps of bread, she shared them with her younger brother. When neighbors gossiped about her family, she ignored them and continued to smile. Kindness, she believed, was the only thing she could truly give. That belief was tested one summer afternoon, when a frail old man tried to cross the busiest street in town. It was market day, and Main Street buzzed with wagons, carriages, and men shouting over the price of grain. Sarah, carrying a basket of laundry for her mother, noticed him first. A thin, hunched man with a cane, his hands trembling as he stepped into the road. The crowd rushed past him without stopping. Some muttered about how slow he moved, others chuckled, unwilling to pause their errands for someone who seemed unimportant. Sarah hesitated for only a moment. Then she set down her basket, walked into the street, and took the old man's arm. The sun beat down as wagons rumbled close, their wheels throwing up dust. Carefully, step by step, she guided him to the other side. Onlookers didn't applaud. Instead, a few smirked. One woman whispered loudly enough for Sarah to hear, "Look at her, wasting time with an old fool. She can't even take care of herself." Another man laughed. "What good can come from her kind helping anyone?" But Sarah didn't flinch. She adjusted her grip on the man's arm and kept walking until they reached the shaded side of the street. Only then did the old man stop to catch his breath. His eyes, pale and watchful, studied the girl before him. Sarah gave him a small nod and returned to pick up her basket. From that day forward, Sarah began seeing the man around town. Sometimes he sat outside the general store, sometimes near the churchyard. Each time he gave her a faint smile, and each time she smiled back. People started to notice, whispering cruel jokes about the poor black girl making friends with a beggar. What no one realized was that the old man was watching. He watched the way Sarah carried laundry heavier than herself without complaint. He noticed how she shared the little she had with children even poorer than her. He saw how she never responded to cruelty with cruelty. Weeks passed, and then one morning, everything changed. It was the day of the annual town gathering, a fair that brought together farmers, merchants and families to celebrate the harvest. The courthouse square overflowed with laughter, music, and the scent of roasted corn. Sarah came only to help her mother, carrying folded laundry for wealthy families. As always, she tried to keep to the edges, avoiding the mocking eyes that followed her. But in the center of the square, a hush suddenly fell. The frail old man she had once helped was walking slowly up the steps of the courthouse platform. A few chuckled, assuming he had wandered up by mistake. But then he removed his worn hat and the mayor himself rushed to his side. The crowd erupted in whispers, because now everyone recognized him. This was not a beggar. This was Henry Whitmore, the richest farmer in the county, owner of thousands of acres, a man whose land fed half the town. Gasps spread as he raised his hand for silence. His voice, though raspy, carried with strength. He told the crowd about a girl no one respected, no one valued, who had shown him the purest kindness when others turned away. He spoke of Sarah. Faces turned. People who had mocked her now flushed with shame. Mothers who had warned their children to stay away from her now clutched their pearls. And Sarah, frozen at the edge of the square, felt her knees tremble. Henry Whitmore declared before everyone that character mattered more than wealth, more than skin, more than status. And he announced that from that day forward, Sarah and her family would never be left behind again. The town never forgot that day. Within weeks, Henry Whitmore visited Sarah's family home. He offered her mother steady work on his estate with fair wages. He arranged for Sarah to attend school without worrying about fees, and he promised that her dreams would not wither in the shadows of prejudice. For the first time, Sarah's family ate meals without fear of hunger. Their home was repaired, their lives steadied. But more importantly, the town itself was forced to confront its cruelty. People who had sneered at Sarah now found themselves uneasy under her quiet gaze. The same children who mocked her shoes now sat beside her in class, their parents reminding them to show respect. Sarah, however, never let pride harden her. She continued to help neighbors, continued to share what little she had, continued to smile even when whispers lingered in the air. She knew that kindness was not about reward, it was about who she chose to be, no matter the world around her. And the richest farmer in town, who had seen the best and worst of people, never stopped reminding the community of the day a poor black girl showed him the true meaning of dignity. Years later, when Sarah grew into a young woman, she would look back at that single moment on Main Street and realize how easily she could have walked by. But she hadn't. She had chosen compassion over indifference, and that choice had rewritten her destiny. So the question lingers. If kindness has the power to change a single life, what might happen if we carried it into every street, every home, and every heart we passed?